welcome to day 30 of the Gospel of John Book Club. Guess what? You are halfway there.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Halfway.
Halfway. We're probably more excited than they're excited.
No, I think they're excited.
Why?
Are you guys excited?
That it's going to be over in 30 days? Or that
No, that we're halfway there. That's an accomplishment.
That's true. So if you've been doing it straight for 30 days, then woo!
And listen,
you did a habit.
Even if you haven't been doing it for 30 days straight, you're still halfway there either way. Day 30. And in today's reading, from blind to bold.
Okay. Our reading for today comes from John chapter 9, verses 13 to 34. Then they took the man who had been blind to the Pharisees, because it was on the Sabbath that Jesus had made the mud and healed him. The Pharisees asked the man all about it. So he told them, "He put the mud over my eyes, and when I washed it away, I could see." Some of the Pharisees said, "This man, Jesus, is not from God, for he is working on the Sabbath." Others said, "But how could an ordinary sinner do such miraculous signs?" So there was deep division of opinion among them. Then the Pharisees again questioned the man who had been blind and demanded, "What's your opinion about this man who healed you?" The man replied, "I think he must be a prophet." The Jewish leaders still refused to believe the man had been blind and could now see, so they called in his parents. They asked him, "Is this your son? Was he born blind? If so, how can he now see?" His parents replied, "We know this is our son and that he was born blind, but we don't know how he can see or who healed him. Ask him. He is old enough to speak for himself." His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders who had announced that anyone saying Jesus was the Messiah would be expelled from the synagogue. That's why they said, "He is old enough, ask him." So for the second time, they called in the man who had been blind and told him, "God should get the glory for this, because we know this man Jesus is a sinner." "I don't know whether he is a sinner," the man replied, "but I know this. I was blind and now I can see." "But what did he do?" they asked. "How did he heal you?" "Look," the man exclaimed, "I told you once. Didn't you listen? Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too?" Then they cursed him and said, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know God spoke to Moses, but we don't even know where this man comes from." "Why, that's very strange," the man replied. "He healed my eyes, and yet you don't know where he comes from. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but he is ready to hear those who worship him and do his will. Ever since the world began, no one has been able to open the eyes of someone born blind. If this man were not from God, he couldn't have done it." "You were born a total sinner," they answered. "Are you trying to teach us?" And they threw it out of the synagogue.
Yes. Oh, man.
This is a funny story.
This is a funny story. You know what? The first thing that came across my mind, this is going to sound really crazy, and you probably aren't ready for this, but I was thinking, it's a good thing that he didn't tell him he put spit inside the mud.
Oh, no. Blasphemy.
That would have really thrown him off. He told him everything but that. He's like, "Hey, I just put the mud on my eyes and washed it off, and here I am." And I just love how elusive he was, because he's just like, "Listen, like, this is what happened. This is what it is. I'm not even trying to hide." And he even challenges them and confronts them. He's like, "Listen, you still don't get it?" Mm-hmm. Like, he essentially is echoing what Jesus had been saying all the time. It's like, how long are you just guys just not going to get it? Like, he is God.
I thought that was very interesting that he started to sound like Jesus.
Yeah.
But isn't that amazing? Like, the closer we get to Jesus, the more we should sound like him.
Ooh, that's good.
So I thought it was amazing. I'm like, oh, wow, he sounds just like Jesus talking to these Pharisees.
Yeah. No, it's very encouraging. But here's the thing. Being a disciple, it requires following Jesus, and it requires faith. You got to follow Jesus, and you got to follow Jesus by faith, and not necessarily fully knowing all the answers. And I think sometimes we come into faith wanting to answer all of our questions, right? And if I can't get all of my questions answered, if I don't know all of the nuances of every detail of everything that's spiritually related, then I can't really follow Jesus yet.
And this man is just being simple. He's like, look at the evidence.
Yeah.
I was blind and now I can see. So he's awesome.
And of course he's God, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it. I love the simplicity of it. And I think he makes the good news, the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. I think he makes it very simple and easy and plain for everyone to be able to receive it in this moment.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love it.
It makes me consider also, like, what's your story? Like what has God done for you, right? What have you seen, you know, Jesus, in what ways has he impacted your life that you are maybe withholding from letting people know of, you know, the glory of God and the power of God? Like what are some of the stories that you might be withholding? Because our stories have really great impact.
And power. I think sometimes people feel that, oh, I can't really, you know, I can't do what the pastor does or what. And it's like, you have your story of what Jesus did for you. Just share it.
Yeah.
And he's going to do the rest.
Yeah. You don't have to be able to explain it all. You don't have to be able to understand it all. But you can say, this is what happened. Take it or leave it. God did this. Jesus changed my life.
I like how it seemed the Pharisees are getting very frustrated right now, but it seemed as if this guy who didn't really know much of anything, any teaching and so forth, he's schooling them a little bit when he says, well, if he's a sinner, then he wouldn't be able to do this. Yeah. Like God wouldn't listen to him if he was a sinner. And just really childlike, you know, just matter of fact talking. And they feel foolish. And so they're like, you're teaching us, you know, but they know that he is telling the truth. You know, well, if he was really not of God, how could he possibly be doing these things?
I love how they just kind of kept going and kept like trying to fact check them. Like, okay, are you sure you're the? Are
Call
you sure
his parents. Call his parents. He's a liar.
That's awesome.
Another.
There's a bring his milk.
His poor parents is like, he's grown.
They're like, we ain't getting kicked out.
He's grown. You talk to him. He can talk for himself. We ain't got nothing to do with this.
I plead the fifth. I love another part of it.
They probably wish that he would just shh, stop talking. And he's just excited. Jesus did
it. Yeah. I also want to highlight verse 31. I think verse 31 is awesome. It says, we know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but he's ready to hear those who worship him and do his will.
It's so comforting.
Yeah, it's so comforting. And no matter, listen, we all begin as sinners. We all come into this earth as sinners. And no matter how great your sin is, no matter how dark your past is, no matter how dark your present is, you can give your life over to Jesus. And when you give your life over to Jesus, the amazing part is he's ready to hear the cries of his children. Those who have a heart and the desire to follow Jesus and worship God, he's like there, just like, oh, that's what I want. That's what I want to hear. And he welcomes the cries of the sinner who wants to turn their heart to him. And I love that.
And I think it's comforting for those who are waiting to hear from God. I know it can be very frustrating for someone who's like, well, I'm crying out to God and he's not listening, he's not answering. But I would say take comfort into this young man who was waiting for years for his miracle and just kind of was going about his daily life, just accepted his circumstance. Like, it is what it is. I'm just gonna just do it. And here comes Jesus coming along and heals him after all this time. And now he's doing the will of Jesus. I'm just sharing his story. So I find comfort in that.
Yeah,
that,
absolutely.
Time isn't always a determining factor of whether God heard you or not.
Yeah.
It's just how am I going to spend my time while I'm waiting for God to answer this prayer.
That's so good. That's so good. The timing has no impact on the truth. Yeah, so he's still true and God is still real and Jesus is still God, regardless of whether or not your actual prayer, the thing that you're asking for, has been answered or not. Doesn't mean that he hasn't heard.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.